Now back to the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show with your hosts, Joey and Hallie Baird.
It is the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden Radio Show on 860 AM WNOV and W293CX 106.5. So happy you have joined us on this beautiful Saturday morning in Milwaukee. The WisconsinVegetableGardener.com is your destination for all things gardening. 925 plus videos, digital magazines, podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and a whole lot more. Well, so let's get into 5 July garden tips. And these are things that maybe you don't have not thought about, but we're going to go over these so we all can be better at gardening during the month of July. One is don't leave space.
Right. So like we're going to harvest garlic today. And what are we going to put in behind
We're going to put fall peas in behind one bed of garlic, and once we get the other bed weeded, we have weeds, yeah, we're not perfect, we will put more bush beans in behind the other garlic because crop rotation, we want to put something in, we just don't want to lay it empty. Now, we will talk with Pam around the Mama about cover crops and the importance of that, and maybe why you want to practice that particular method. But we're going to continue. It's the summer. We got space. We got seed. We're going to dump these seeds in the garden and get the fall crops going.
Right. So that's something to keep in mind. Or maybe you think, okay, my carrots aren't doing too well. You could plant some in a container, see how that goes for you. And any crop really, if you're questioning it, maybe try planting something else. It's not too late. I know people who planted their tomatoes last weekend. So.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No.
Tomatoes will go all the way up to frost. So another thing, stay ahead of the weeds. And this is something that a lot of people don't have time for. We talked a little bit about in the last segment about leaving some weeds for those bad bugs to attach themselves to attract them to those weeds and not your plants. But at least if you do a little, what's the saying, do a little and do it often.
Right. And that's something that's very true. You could come home from work, maybe have some dinner and then go out. And I know it doesn't sound exciting,
15 minutes,
but 15 minutes, 20 minutes before you sit down, watch TV, read, whatever you do, play with the kids, get your kids to help you weed, whatever you're doing, take 15, 20 minutes, go out and weed, and then do that every day, and you're going to get fresh air. You've been in the office all day or something, you're going to get that fresh air, and you'll be glad because you'll have that weeding to a minimum.
So yeah, weeding, and you might find some surprises, some volunteer plants that have come up from last year. Like we have in the front yard garden, we've got some tomatoes coming up. We've got radishes coming up that seeded. We got dill from 4 years ago that's still growing. It continues to reseed itself that I'm trying to eliminate because it's invasive. Another thing, replace mulch as needed. Now, mulch can be a variety of organic or inorganic materials. We recommend organic because organic will break down. If you're going to use grass clippings, again, weed-free and chemical-free grass clippings. If you use grass clippings that has been sprayed with a treatment, a weed and feed or other chemicals, those are harboring inside of those grass clippings and will release into the soil around your plants in which you're mulching, and it will kill the plants because it contains, most of these chemicals contain a 2,4-D residue, which is used in agricultural use to kill weeds, and that will kill your garden. So keep that in mind. Also, what other kind of mulches do we have that we could use? Straw.
Right, straw. Straw is a very good mulch as well.
Leaves, obviously, are not the predominant choice right now.
Maybe you could go out there, shake a tree, see what happens.
Yeah.
Probably get a squirrel that fall in your head.
You want to save those leaves or make a mound in the fall like we do. We mound all the leaves in our garden. And we're still using those leaves that are mounded as mulch.
Right, and that's something definitely, and we'll talk about that more again in the fall too, but think about what you can use in mulch, mulch.
Yeah, mulch. You can be very creative here. You can take an old sock, preferably one that doesn't have holes in it, fill it with sand and then wrap it around your container. And you actually create an insulation barrier between the soil and the air, and it won't dry out nearly as quick. If you just put sand on top of it, you're going to work that sand eventually into the soil, and you may not want that. But that's another idea, where you can make little sand socks or whatever. That we've done that a couple of years ago, and it did work.
Right, that's definitely a good idea for sure. Otherwise, just make sure you're checking on your containers. That's another thing is we talked about watering in the previous segment, but it's also something that you want to keep in mind. We've been really lucky with the rain, but that's not always the case.
Right. It does, no matter what, 90 degree, and that's what it was a couple of days ago, containers dry out incredibly quick at 90 degrees, no matter how large they are and how much moisture you can put in them the day before.
And this is the time of year when we're always saying make sure you water in the morning or the evening, not during midday, this is the time we're talking about right now.
Not
where-
because it's going to hurt the plants if you get water on them in the middle of the day.
No, but it's because it's going to be the best absorption. We're having not that it's been that hot, but the hottest times of the year. And so you want to keep that in mind.
Preferably, if you have a choice, go in the morning because the plants are not stressed. They've been relaxed over the night and they're able to absorb what moisture they need before the stress of the heat comes on. In a couple of weeks, we're going to talk about what you need to do to lessen the stress on your plants in your garden so they can produce throughout the summer months, because August is usually, late July, early August is usually the hottest portion of the year here in Milwaukee. So we'll cover that in a couple of weeks. Keep up on the deadheading.
Yeah, this is
what is, first of all, for people who are like, what is that? What is deadheading?
So this is mostly going to be for flower gardeners or people who grow a lot of flowers. And when the flowers, the flower buds or the flowers themselves start to look sad, you want to just pinch the flowers off, and that will help produce more flowers essentially.
Or cut them.
Or cut them. You can do that too.
Now, the reason why you want to do this is as a plant, or we're talking about flowers here, as the flower head dies back, seeds are being formed inside of that head, and once the plant realizes it has produced enough offspring or seeds to drop and potentially grow next year, it will stop growing, stop producing buds, stop flowering. So by removing the flower heads that have died back, you're actually encouraging the plant to flower more, because it's going into essentially a stress situation where I don't have any seeds for next year, for the next generation of this strain of flower. This is what the plant's thinking. So I've got to create more flowers to create more seeds because I've lost all of them that I currently had. Now, there are some that you don't have to deadhead. They've hibernized some of these, but overall, you want to deadhead those. Remove those from the plant. They just don't look pleasing to the eye when you just see a bunch of dead flowers on the ground.
But don't do this to your tomato plants.
No, this is just strictly
We're
for flowers.
We're referring to plants
and
that
some
you're growing.
roses.
Right. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, when it comes to deadheading.
And another July gardening tip I would have to say would be to think about your fall planting.
And we're going to talk. Yeah, we won't get in too much right now.
We'll be talking about that
next week.
Next
second
week, but
segment.
it is something to think about. If you'll be busy next weekend, and you want to think about it this weekend, it's definitely something that is going to be coming up soon.
One thing with the fall planting, you don't have to start your seeds indoors like you typically would have to in the early, like February, March. You can direct sow them right in the ground. And MI Gardener still has a variety of seeds, fall seeds, that are available that you can get for 99 cents and get those shipped to your house for very low cost. Other thing, Joe Lample talked about an organic practice of mowing your lawn maintenance a couple of weeks ago, which
you want to keep it to be about 3 to 4 inches, and it's to protect it from the summer heat. Now, here in Wisconsin, most people cut their grass shorter because if it's wet and rainy, it helps less mosquitoes. So I guess that's what the thought process is. I'm not sure if that's scientifically backed or not. So I think it kind of depends on where you live and what you want to do. I know some people don't like the look of that either, and sometimes if you're mowing, it seems kind of fruitless if your grass is only being cut down half an inch or so every week.
Right. I want to get back to the deadheading just for a minute so people understand the proper procedure in order to deadhead. You can remove just above the leaves and below the flower head without affecting the plant. Just take and clean cut. Make sure your snips or your scissors or whatever. You don't want to pinch it off because that's going to have a jagged edge, and it could actually introduce problems to your plants. So you want to, and you can just do this as your flower heads die. Not all of them die at the same time. You can just remove a couple as you see needed, and or bring them inside. Put them on the water on the table.
And soon, maybe sooner than later, will be time to dig your garlic like us today, your potatoes within the next couple weeks, and even possibly your onions.
Right, to keep that in mind. But again, with the potatoes, you want to wait until the plants begin to die back. It's not, we wait until the plants die back. Some people will wait after the flowers bloom, and that is an indication that the tubers are nearly at maximum size. We wait until the plant dies back to make sure that all the energy that is possible can go into the development of the tubers, and not, we're not in a rush, because we know what's going to go in behind some. We've got 3 patches of potatoes. We know what's going to go in behind one of them, which will be fall garlic in October, and I'm still debating on what to put in the others. If you're in the Milwaukee or surrounding areas, just tune your radio to 860 AM or FM 106.5. You can also find links on our Facebook pages, The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener and Home Canning. Our website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, click on the radio tab at the top of the page, then click on the Listen Live button, and you'll have immediately access to our live program. Mobile devices work very well also. Go to your app store and download for free the TuneIn app or the Simple Radio app. Then search WNOV 860, save it to your favorites, and you can have access to our radio show live wherever you're at in the world. Our radio program will also have podcast replay under the radio tab several days following the live broadcast. You can find all of these links in the show notes below. Our show airs 9 to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time every Saturday, March through the end of October. And we want to thank our sponsors because without them, this would not be anywhere possible. You can find all of their links under the radio tab on our website at thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.